Today we're going to take a look at how to find the area of composite shapes. So composite shapes don't have a formula themselves to find the area, but what we can do is break them into pieces that make it easier for us to find the total area of the shape. So whenever you're looking at a shape, the first thing you need to think about is how can I cut this to make it into shapes that I know how to find the area of. Typically we are looking to find shapes like rectangles. And if we find rectangles, remember we could do the base times the height. Or maybe triangles. And we know that triangles are found by doing 1/2 of the base times the height. And sometimes we look for parallelograms. And the parallelograms have an area of base times height. So parallelograms and rectangles really have the same formula to find the area. So looking at the shape in front of us, one thing that I see is I could cut it vertically right here to make two shapes that would appear to be maybe rectangles. Or if I chose to, I could actually slice it this way. Or really, I could slice it into this way as well to have 3 pieces, which is going to make it more complex. So I would recommend slicing it into as few pieces as possible to make this problem as easy as you can on yourself. So by doing this, I'm going to look at my shape on the left. So we're looking at this shape over here. So now we need to figure out what are the dimensions of this shape. I can look at the bottom. I can see that it is 7 units wide. And if I look on the side, I can see it's 7 units tall. So we know we're working with a square. So to find the area of the square, we can just multiply the side by the side, or the base times the height. So we can see that this one has an area of 49 square units. Now we have to jump over to our smaller piece, which is a little more complex. We can see that it has a height of 3, but we don't really know how big this section is right here. But we do know the entire length is 9, and we just used 7 of that amount, which means we're left with 2. Therefore, we're looking at a rectangle with dimensions of 2 by 3, a base of 2, a height of 3, which gives us an area of 6. And finally, we need to take our 2 values. So we're going to take our 49 area and we're going to add our 6 to it to get a total of 55 square units. Okay, taking a look at this again, we could divide this into several rectangles, but we want to keep it as simple as possible. So I'm going to slice it right here. And now let's take a look at our top rectangle. We can see on the top rectangle that it has dimensions of 2 by 4, so 2 times 4 being 8, so that's pretty simple. Looking at our bottom rectangle, we can see that the bottom rectangle has a height of 3, and we need to figure out how long this is. Well, we can see that from here to here is 3, we can see from here to here is 3, and this piece was listed at the top as 2, so we know that 3 plus 3 plus 2 is 8. So this is an 8 by 3 rectangle, and if we do 8 times 3, we get an area of 24 square units. So again, we're going to add these 2 values together. 24 plus 8 is going to give us a total area of 32 square units. Sometimes when we're working with these figures, we end up with triangles whenever we're splitting them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split it across this way. And I see a rectangle here at the bottom. I can see that I have a rectangle that is 3 units by 6 units. So I know that 3 times 6 is an area of 18. Now, if we recall, to find the area of a triangle, we are doing 1/2 the base times the height, or multiply the base and the height divided by 2. So we need to know that information for this triangle. Well, we know that the distance from here to here is still going to be 6. We know the whole height was 7. But we've just used up 3 of that. So to find our missing piece, 7 minus 3 gives us 4. And we can say that 6 and 4 are going to be our base and height because they form a right angle. They come at a 90-degree angle with each other. So 6 times 4 would be 24, but I need half of that amount, which means that this has an area of 12. So we can add our 12 and our 18 together to get a total area of 30 square units.